Hey there everybody, this is Drew Kaplan, Star Wars Maven. I'm very excited to talk about a book coming out in 2 weeks from today called Star Wars Dark Legends. So you've got a nice Darth Vader mask on the very front of it. Now for this book, it's actually a follow-up by the same author, George Mann, from this book, Star Wars Myths and Fables. And this has 9 different stories and very much like a sort of a, medieval sort of fables, European style. Very interesting, very nice. You get knights in armor versus dragons. It's something it's basically a Star Warsification of like European style medieval, myths and fables. It's actually a really cool book if you haven't checked it out. But in this one, which is like the opposite of it, in that this is a little bit more cheerful, hopeful, but this is dark, right? It's got some basically ghost story. It's got a ghost story. It's got a werewolf story. They're basically stories of. They're definitely morals to be learned from these 7 stories, and they're from different eras. There's one, the very first story is one involving the Imperial era with the Grand Inquisitor, another Imperial era with, obviously you get Mr. Darth Vader on here. We have, or Lord Vader I should say, he's not a Mr., he's a Lord Vader, and some from a long time ago, the Sith, Jedi, some really old stories going on in here, and it's, as you can tell, it's smaller than the previous book, not only because it's got 7 stories versus 9 stories, but it's a more physically handleable book, and it's also quite readable. So it's intended for audiences 8 to 12, but even older ones, I was able to read it in an afternoon. Quite readable, enjoyable. As I mentioned, you get the Grand Inquisitor, you get Darth Vader, you get some Sith, some interesting stories of the Jedi. There's actually one of the stories involves a character from this book, so it's a nice weaving, a nice tie into that. And there's actually one that was really interesting involving a Sith Lord and the Night Sisters, which was a really fascinating story. So if you find yourself with this, or maybe you know someone who maybe they're into some of the darker stuff than you might find on the lighter side, then Star Wars Dark Legends is it's an interesting, fun read. It's not like it necessarily advances any necessary canonical stories, but it's fun, it's enjoyable, and ultimately that's why we read. We want to be entertained. So thank you so much for watching, and may the Force be with you.